Think about the moment just before sunrise. The world is still, the air is charged, and then, boom, light breaks forth, revealing everything that was hidden in the dark. That is the power of light. Light awakens, it transforms, it fuels us. And here on the Light Feeders podcast, we don't just chase the light, we feed from it. I'm Sam Adejo, your guide on this electrifying journey of wisdom, energy, and truth. Let's step into the light together.
We are privileged to have our guest today. I know you can see her already. This guest is not new to the podcast, even though it's her first episode that she's featuring as a guest. But behind the scene, we have received reviews and positive direction because as you get to know, she's a communication specialist and she's many things, but we are glad to have Dr. Esther Akheituame. I've been practicing that name, so hopefully I get it right. Dr. Esther is a communication specialist. One thing we'll get to find out is her conviction to pursue this particular field. Her first degree is in communication, her second degree is in communication, and now she has a PhD in communication. It's not just a coincidence. For so many people, they find their way back to their dreams and desires of going, but she's convinced to have pursued this path. And for we who are friends, she's my friend. Privileged to call her my friend. You can see that in the way she communicates, in the way she brings various perspectives to various subjects of life. Like I said, she's a woman of faith, she's a woman of God, and she's a scholar. Okay, she'll tell us more about herself. I don't want to say so much, but she's a scholar in communication, and her focus, I would say, is around media relating to women's rights and gender rights, I guess. She will speak more about that. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Esty. You call her Dr. Esty as friend.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you for
How
that
did I
wonderful
do the
introduction, my
introduction?
friend. That was wonderful. I was swelling with pride.
I know I have to try my best.
Thank
I
you.
mean, PhD is not easy, but yeah, we are glad to celebrate that milestone with you. Now we know that there is more to come. You can see where God is taking you, and we're glad that we are part of this in one way or the other. I want you to tell us more. I think that is the first thing. Who is Dr. Esther?
Okay. So, hi everyone. I've already been introduced. My name is Dr. Esther Akheituame. I am a media scholar. I have a PhD degree, which is the highest academic degree that you can get. I'm a woman of God. I love God. For me, it's not just about the religion. It's also about my relationship with God, and I really, really love God, and He loves me too. So I love to talk about that relationship. There's actually a lot to say about me, but I'm trying to, keep it simple. Yes.
Thank you. Like I said, she's a communication specialist, and if she needs to go far, she will. If she needs to keep it short. But thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Thank you.
And I think we have many aspects of you to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for giving us this honor. Because as you know, our theme for this second season of the Light Feeders podcast is becoming. So basically with this theme, we speak to people who have become or who have attained particular height in life and career and various aspects of life to share their experience with us, their experience through the process and through the journey as well. And today we have Dr. Esther, who is here with us. This conversation has started on the academics already, so we'll start from there. You, like I said, you've all your life you've been studying communication. What was your thoughts as a child coming out of secondary school? For so many people that want to study law or medicine, and you picked communication particularly and you have stayed on that path. What was your conviction to pursue this path?
That's a very good question. So I know we're talking about academics, but I'm also going to link it to my personal life, my family. So in high school, of course, I was very brilliant. But one of the things in Nigerian schools is that if you are intelligent, you're expected to go to science class. And so I was taken to science class. And then I was there for a while, and I was passing the class because, of course, I couldn't fail, but I didn't really have a career path in that area. I thought about different things. Do I want to be a doctor? I don't like medicines. I don't like hospitals. So how am I going to be a doctor? What am I going to do here? But I just stayed. And then one day I went home and my brother asked what class I was in, and I said I was in science class, and he said, "Why are you in science class?" Because everyone knew, growing up, they used to call me for those who are not Nigerian, so resident Amibo. So that means I had all the information. I would distribute everything. So they used to call me AIT. Yes, it was the popular television stations then. So everyone knew that I wanted to be a journalist. I would record news stories with my mom's phone. I was always doing that, and my family really encouraged me. And so I went to my parents and said, "I don't want to be in science class. I know science is prestigious, but that's not what I want." And as at then, it's better now, but back then, I'm not that old, guys, but back then, if you were in art class, it meant that you were one of the dullards.
Yeah.
So I asked that I wanted to go to art class. I couldn't move on my own because I was not failing. So the criteria for moving would be you have to be failing. So I had to, my sister went with me to school and told them, "Oh, we have permission from my parents to move her to art class." And I went there and I was very, very happy. So academics didn't feel like a chore. It felt like something I really and truly enjoyed. And so that's how the journey started. At first, I wanted to be a journalist, and then I also wanted to be a teacher because of my mom. My mom was a teacher, and I used to follow her to school, and I wanted to teach as well. And so I wasn't sure how I was going to combine both. And then when I went to the University of Benin, I studied mass communication. At that time, I still wanted to be a journalist. And then when I moved to the US to get my master's degree, I was not so sure if I still wanted to be a journalist, because then we were seeing people having their own YouTube channels and having their own shows, and I wasn't sure I wanted that, stressful life of journalism. It's a lot. We see them looking all glam on TV, but a lot of times at 2 a.m. in the morning, they're in the studio. Yeah. I wasn't sure I could deal with that. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to have my own YouTube channel and do this broadcast thing I've always wanted to do. And then I'll get a PhD so that I can teach communication. That way I have the best of both worlds. So that's how I was able to stay consistent in that path. But it was mostly family encouragement and me knowing what I wanted, because I knew from the start what I wanted to do, and the help of God. Yes.
That's awesome. Talking about knowing what you want or what you wanted, I have a similar story to yours. So, SS1, higher secondary school, junior school, they said that science or art. So I was in science. I wanted to be a medical doctor. Then, and my friends, 80% of my classmates wanted to be medical doctors. And I was in science, doing physics, doing chemistry. I was doing well, basically, like I was still in top 10 in the class. But my dad felt that I was struggling, particularly with chemistry, with physics. In junior secondary, I was in top 3, but going to top 10, but I didn't move. In my case, I didn't really know. I was going to struggle too. It was my dad who identified that, maybe you could just move to art. And then he called my principal, and it was strange because it was SS2 second term. I basically had 2 more terms before WAEC. But the interesting thing with me is, even when I was in sciences, I was very good at literature. I was directing plays even as a science student, I was writing plays. I was good at government. I used to go to take government classes and all of those things. So when they moved me, they moved 40% of those who were actually struggling in sciences back to art class. So I understand that notion that art students are not as good. It's not.
It's not. Yes.
Definitely not. Thank you for giving us that background, and I appreciate that. Like I said, you could look at the trajectory and you could see that you actually want to be here. You know where you are. I want to speak about your progress and your decision to focus on the influence the effect or influence of media on gender-based roles.
Yeah.
I know you particularly worked on something relating to Nollywood.
Yes.
You did something bringing the peculiarity to African feminism.
Yes.
Could you first give us a background of what that is? And the follow-up question was your motivation to base your research in that aspect.
Those are great questions. Thank you. So the decision to work on African feminism was based on what I had seen while working on my program. I think that's the second question. Sorry, I'm starting from that.
Yeah, no problem.
But it's going to connect to the first to lead to the explanation. So while working on my program, I noticed that there weren't a lot of literature on African women per se, on African communication systems. We have our own communication systems. Yes, as it relates to media. Right. And so I was seeing lots of all this, and even in terms of gender, so gender in communication. So the first time in one of our classes, we were given different papers to read. And in one of those...
The master's program?
Yes, no, my PhD.
Okay.
Yes. And so in one of those, on the list of those papers we were to read, I saw that there was something about African women, right? And they were talking about African women, and it felt familiar. So in this paper, the person was talking about women who work in the markets and how it was a form of empowerment. In Nigeria, many people were trained in school by mothers who sold things in the markets, right? It looked like it was not a prestigious job, but they were able to use that to train their children in the university. Yes, and they were talking about those women from an empowered perspective. And that was beautiful to see. Like, okay, you know, a lot of times when we see African women or Africans in the media, it's mostly from, oh, we need to help them. But seeing them talk about these women from an empowered stance was really, really good. And I wanted to see more of that. It's getting better, but it's not enough. Right now, we still have some information on African women and what happens in Africa in the communication books that we read, but we need more. And I wanted to do something that I was truly passionate about. So in my undergrad, during my BA, my undergrad thesis was about the representation of women in Nigerian adverts. So I was always interested in that. So that was my undergrad thesis. I didn't know that it would develop into something like this, but when I used to watch ads, I would try to see, okay, how are they portraying this woman? You know, most times we see the woman cooking, and then the father is, you know, in the living room, chilling. But I started to see around that time that some ads were having women go to work while the man is at home cooking and waiting for her to get back. So I was seeing some progress there. And so I was interested in that. And so during my PhD program, when I read about feminism, part of it did not really speak to the African culture. And it started to show why many people rejected feminism. Because it felt like it's... the truth is that you cannot transfer a concept from one culture to another culture and expect that it would be the same. Because their values are different, what they believe is different, their traditions are different. Nigeria is very communal, right? So the understanding of people about feminism which is not right. Feminism basically is, equity for both sexes, right? But with the way it has been misconstrued, some people think that feminism is about women wanting to be more powerful than men, to take up the roles of men and things like that. But in reality, when you're thinking of feminism, you're thinking about each person having a level playing ground. And so with African feminism, people who came up with these concepts started to think about how it relates to our African culture, thinking more about complementarity. So you're thinking, I don't want to be fighting the men. I want to work alongside the men to create an equal playing ground for all of us. This should be beneficial for all of us. So it's not a war, it's us working together to make that change. And so with African feminism, it speaks to the fusion of culture and progress. So we are saying, Africans like their culture, right? There are certain parts of our culture that we want to change, but there are certain parts that we really like the way we look out for each other and, the way our environment works. And so we are thinking, we don't want to abandon our culture because we want equity. We want to see how culture can work alongside this push for equity and progress, and in that way we are well-rounded. And if you look at African feminism, you start to see that we are focusing on issues that are peculiar to Africans, right? To Nigerian women. And one thing that it pays attention to is not assuming a one-size-fits-all type of feminism. So what might be peculiar to women in Nigeria might be different for women in Ghana. And so it's very contextual. That is a high point of African feminism. What are the things that are needed in this place, and then how do we approach it? And so that is something that makes African feminism distinct. So it doesn't mean that feminism in itself is eradicated in African culture. It's just saying we want to adjust it to ensure that it fits within our context. That way, we recognize tradition, we recognize culture, and at the same time, we want better for everyone. And then, I just thought about one thing that I didn't talk about. One more thing. African feminism ensures that we realize that women in Africa are not weak and helpless. Because the way it's often portrayed in the Western media is that, we need to go and rescue this woman. So something that I found from my research, from my dissertation as well, is that because the kind of feminism that is being performed in this region is different from what doesn't mean that it's not feminist, right? So they approach feminism in different ways, but that doesn't mean that they are weak or powerless. They are doing it in their own way. Yeah.
That is powerful.
Thank you.
And speaking about culture, right, I was listening to, I've always known culture, the simple definition of culture, according to statistics, the way of life of people.
Yes.
And like you said, it will not make sense to basically drop on other people a foreign idea without putting into understanding their own peculiarities, their way of life.
Yes.
And truly, people are different. Cultures are, like you said, even the culture in Ghana is really different from what you have. Yeah, and even within tribes, even in Nigeria, the cultures are different. And so I think that each group of people need to define what their own feminism is, because if you bring everything totally from the Western world, there will be clash. And like you said, the fact that people are pushing for equality or for equity is an indication that there are disparities. People are not treated the same. And the idea of feminism is that people, regardless of gender, should be treated the same. I particularly appreciate the fact that you were able to understand the differences in culture, and like you said, the idea of this emerging research is not to take out what the culture is, but to come to terms that these things that we have known, there's possibility to advance, to enhance, to make it better. Because culture evolves.
Yes.
What women used to experience in the 60s, in the 70s, or whatever, it has evolved. And I think that is still the idea that the Western world have. Like you say, they feel like these people are suppressed, but it's not really so. And as you have found, because I listened to your defense, and like you have found, many women are making progress in different fields, but you focused particularly on women breaking through in Nollywood. Tell us about what you found in your research as to this particular, and we can list many women who are doing so well in different fields of life. But tell us what you found as to the success of women breaking through, even more than the men in Nollywood.
Great, thank you. So I had very interesting findings, and while I was doing this study, I was quite proud of a number of women filmmakers. So firstly, we are seeing something. So in African feminism, there is a subset called nego-feminism, which stands for negotiation. So negotiation feminism or no ego feminism. And so what that is
negotiation
that
feminism
or no ego. So
that is nego.
Yes, nego. Yes. And so it shows that basically women are negotiating their way around patriarchal landmines. Again, Africa is very cultural. And if you come out and say, you know what, this thing people are doing, you have to stop it today, you're going to get backlash. But the way you approach it is going to be quite different. I think I saw an example in one of the papers I read where there was something about women's, I don't want to misquote this, but there was something about women's salary being reduced because they felt like, oh, you people don't need as much money as men, so we're not going to pay you the same. And so the Minister of Women Affairs, I think I'm mixing this up, but somebody in power, I think the Minister of Women Affairs, instead of going to the government to fight, because knowing the culture, she knows that this thing would not bring any results. She just went on to say, this one that you have reduced women's money, the children that will suffer it, or the women are the ones cooking for the children, they're the ones taking care of the children. So the children are going to suffer the repercussions of this thing. They didn't make it about themselves. And so with that approach, the government went back to, give them their actual pay. And some people might see that as problematic, like, oh, you need to approach this thing head on. But the thing about nego-feminism is that there are issues that you approach head on. There are issues that you have to negotiate your way around. So basically, that kind of feminism is talking about you knowing when, where, and how to approach certain issues. So there are some that do not warrant you to start, fighting or confronting directly. There are some that you can easily manage, so that by the time you become confrontational, they know that this is a serious issue.
You want to take over.
Exactly, you understand. So knowing the kind of culture that you are in, that you are dealing with, nego-feminism helps explain why certain women approach feminism in different ways, which means that someone might be seen as quiet today. It doesn't mean they're not doing anything. They might not be on Twitter tweeting and talking about injustice, but they might be at home teaching their children to be better people. It's their own form of giving back to society. So it recognizes different forms that people take, right? And so in this study, I found that the woman, instead of just staying back and complaining about not being given access. So with Nollywood filmmaking, it started with men. But women were trying to break in. And so instead of saying, we don't have access, government needs to do something about this, even though, yes, we're having conversations around that, they started to build their own structures. Like, okay, if you won't give it to us, I'm going to build my own structure. And so we had prolific filmmakers who would enter into the industry. I think one person who was, frequently mentioned in my paper was Amaka Igwe, who was one of the early filmmakers. And so what she did was, she went into filmmaking and created a community. She started recruiting women. So she would give them roles, teach them how to make films, like introduce them into the scene. And so it kept going. Like, so when you do this, you're also going to go in and recruit somebody else. So women were collaborating, women were mentoring each other and helping to ensure that they were bringing other people into the scene. They were taking power into their hands. Again, another form of feminism. So yes, you can complain. Yes, you can, fight about certain things. But if there's an instance where you can do something about it while you wait for the structures to change, you can. And so what I noticed was that women were making that effort to build structures to recruit more women. And what we are seeing today now is that progress that is shown even in cinema blockbuster movies. So if you look at the top 50, so I examined the top 50 blockbuster movies, and I noticed that in the top 10 were all women. And yes, women filmmakers. And then the top 3 or 4 was the same person. That's Funke Akindele. She was breaking her own records, right? And I saw that many of these women were also working with other women too. I saw a pattern with, for instance, with Moabudu, with her film, The Wedding Party. Kemi Adetiba was her director, for that film. And then after directing that film, that was her directorial debut. After she did that, she went on to make her own film, King of Boys. You see that exposure helps, right? Even though she probably had it in her, because for you to make King of Boys, you must have had it in you. That push was helpful. And then Moabudu also made another film called, I think, Her Excellency or His Excellency, something around that. And Funke Akindele was the director for that film. That was also her directorial debut. And then after that, she went on to make her own film. And so we see these women giving each other chances. Like, if these people will not give us the chance, we are going to create structures and give ourselves chances. And one place where women were even more prominent was in executive producer roles and producer roles. As an executive producer, you mostly handle the money, right? You bring money for the film. We see that women are starting to make more and more money, and now they are investing in films. Like, okay, now we're going to start telling our stories properly, right? And so we're seeing more women being involved in that area. That is very, very commendable. Yeah, that was beautiful to notice.
Awesome. I never had these details of what mega feminism is. And I think from this picture you just painted in the last statement about women giving opportunity to other women, understanding that they are capable to take up the roles. I think without necessarily coming out to say or confronting the men to say this is what we want to do, but doing our own thing behind. The thing with silently working at some point you break through. And for this many women, they have actually had the breakthrough. We'll come back to your research, but part of what we want to understand and what we do at the Life Leaders podcast is that for anyone who is able to tune in, at least should go back with something. From your personal experience, one thing that you said is that you knew what you wanted from when you were young. What is that advice, perhaps a young person coming out of secondary school or trying to get to the university or trying to define what a career path is? What is that advice that you offer to that young person on how to actually get to knowing what they want? Because there are so many people, it's not that they don't know what they want. It's maybe they want to do many things. Right? But what is the advice you offer to someone to help them understand and define their path?
That's really good. I think that wanting to be many things is good. God has given us that creativity. There are things that you're multiple things that you are good at. And for me, I would say, coming from my own perspective as a Christian, always pray. Right? What should I do? This is what I think I should do, but what would God want me to do? And then you're also thinking about passion. What are you most passionate about? Right? And you need to be able to stand for what you want. a lot of times when people say they want to do something, they have to ask themselves. It's important that you ask yourself, is it what I want to do, or is it what I think society would expect me to do, or is it what I think my family would want me to do? At the end of the day, it's your life, right? I'm not saying you have to be rebellious, but you also need to be able to do something that you would be happy with. The idea that people can choose a career and not be happy, that it's either you're making money or you're happy, is false. There are people who are doing things that make them happy and they're also making money at the same time, right? But I don't think this is funny, so I'm trying to be careful with how I say it. I don't think you should prioritize money. Money is important, but I feel like if you are good at what you do, it's going to come. So you want to go after your passion, and then you'll find way to monetize certain things. There are ways in which you can make money, but if it's money first, you're going to burn out very quickly. But if it's passion first, then it's easy to stay consistent. I'll tell one interesting story. So when I first came to the US, people were asking me, why communication? Why would you be doing communication in the US? There are hot cake courses like nursing, like tech and all of that stuff. And because I already knew what I wanted, I didn't care about the hot cake courses. And so being able to stand firm in what you want, and when people are saying, oh, you won't get a job with this course, that does not apply to someone who is excellent at what they do and someone who has God with them. If you know that you're on the right path and that you have God with you and you're striving to be excellent, you can do great in any field that you choose to. So basically, find that thing that you're passionate about, pray about it, and stay resolute, so that even when naysayers or some people might not even be naysayers, might just be actually concerned, trying to help you, right? You might be concerned that, oh, I don't think you know what you're doing, I want to help you. But when they see that this is actually what you want, so I'm not saying you should not listen to people. Sometimes people have good advice for you, right? But you need to be able to filter it based on what aligns with your vision and what, God would want for you. So my advice, basically, in summary, is be resolute. Choose what you want, stay passionate, and ask God to help you.
Thank you so much. That is powerful.
Thank you.
I have two ways, but first I want to start off with something that I wanted to ask. So, a couple of years back, you moved to the US to pursue your master's degree.
Yes.
And then, understanding that you know what you want, is that something that you have always wanted, or you just wanted to jump on? No, I'm saying this because there are people who genuinely want to, who understand what they want to become, but maybe not communication, but some kind of fields that they know that they'll not do well in this country that they move out. But they are not convinced because it's a lot to actually relocate. But you moved here. Was it conviction? Was it determination? Was it just
That's a very good question. So I like to be very honest, right? And so I'm going to be honest with you. When I switched from science to arts, I still wanted to be a doctor. And so I remember telling my dad, I said, I'm still going to be a doctor, just not a medical doctor. And yes, so I held on to that. I knew that one day I would still want to be a doctor, right? And then when it was time for me to get into uni, my undergrad, I was looking at, so I've always been very ambitious, like looking for, the idea is just shoot your shots. They might say no, they might say yes, but you never know if you don't try. And so for uni, I was looking to apply to Ivy League schools. So I wanted to go to Ivy League schools for my undergrad, and I was looking up these schools. And one thing about my family is that they are very supportive. If I say this is the school I want to go to, they will say, yes, you can do it. And so I wanted to do that, but I didn't really fully understand the process. It wasn't really working out. And so I went on to do my undergrad in Nigeria. So the next goal was, okay, your master's, you're going to do it abroad, right? And then during my NYSC was when I started working on this. This time around, we had, of course, we always had internet, but I could understand the internet more. I could do my research more. So for my master's degree, I actually didn't use any agents. I did all the research. I found, ways to come myself. I really just said, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it. So later on, my mom was reminding me that you really said you wanted to study abroad, and now you're doing it. So that's another piece of advice I will give to you. If there is something you want, if people don't see you putting an effort, it will be hard for them to help or support you, right? My family saw me putting in the effort. I made an effort to register for certain things. I'm trying to remember all the forms I had to fill and all of that, but they saw that effort, and so they were very happy to support me. So if you want something, you need to show that you want something, so people know that, okay, they are backing up a vision, right? And so I always wanted to do the PhD, and then so I came for my master's. But the truth is that before I started my master's program, I had not researched on the pathway to the PhD program, so I didn't have that planned out yet, because I was still thinking, journalism, maybe teaching, how do I combine both? And so when I came in here, the exposure to the system helped me to understand what I could do next. And so I saw the pathway to get into the PhD program and become that doctor that I've always wanted to be. And so coming here was what helped me to build that pattern. But I feel like it would have always been, a PhD, because I always wanted to get a doctorate degree. Yeah, but how it was going to happen was something I did not know. So coming here to do my master's was what helped me to, solidify that plan. Yes.
Thank you. I want to take you back to the aspect of faith. You have mentioned prayer, and I know you are a woman of faith. What role did faith play? I know faith did play some role, but faith simply will be expression of godly virtues.
Yes.
What are some of that aspect of faith, your faith as a Christian, that helped you navigate both the process of being able to actually conceive, because that's what faith is, being able to see beyond even what you are looking at the time, to conceive, to take steps, and then to actually, by God's grace, you have attained the highest rank in education or academics, and that is applaudable. But it takes a lot, including faith. So what aspect of faith played role in your becoming?
That's great. For thinking about childhood, I'm just thinking about my journey in faith. I've always had strong faith, and recently there have been times when I've prayed for God to restore that childlike faith in me. I used to pray about everything and believe that God will do it, even down to when I wash clothes and I dry it outside and it's rainy season. I'll tell God, please let rain not fall today, and rain will not fall that day. And it just used to happen like that. I told God that, okay, I want to enter the university, as a teenager. And it happened that way. And so I would just tell God what I want, and He will do it for me. And so I was always moving in that faith, knowing that what I ask God is what He will do for me. As I started to get older, I think my idea of faith also grew, where I understood that, yes, what I want God to do is what He will do for me. And if He doesn't do it, it's because it's not yet time, or that is not what He wants for me. And that also helped to solidify my faith journey, where if things don't happen the way I want it to, I'm now feeling like, oh, God betrayed me or something. Because that relationship I have with God, is easy to feel like, God, you betrayed me this time. But seeing it as an expression of love. And there is no time when something has gone a different way that it didn't end up being for good. So even with my PhD program, the department I landed in, I got admission into the program pretty late. And even as at that time, I just felt like I was coming to Missouri. And I was already looking for apartments before I even got admission into the program. And so it's just, I back my faith up with works. Like if I tell God I want you to do this, I have to show that I trust you that you will do this, right? And so I came to the best department. Like my department has just been great. The school has been really great. And so my journey with faith is me backing it up with work. I don't just pray and say, God, do it, and then I'm having doubts. I personally believe that when you're doubting, it's disrespectful to God. Because you need to be able to build on your testimonies. When God has done it for you again and again, and you are always doubting Him, it's like, why are you always doubting me? I've done this for you. You know I can do it. And so, another funny experience was when I was to travel to Australia for a conference. I had not gotten funding yet. I was getting funding from school, and one of the funding applications had gotten rejected. Guess what? I went on to book a flight because I felt like the second one would be accepted. And I got it. It was like fully funded. So I believe that when we back our faith up with works, it actually helps us. And so even in my journey in this PhD program, even when things seem daunting, like with my dissertation, I wrote it in a pretty short time. And I kept saying, God will give me the strength. Even when I was getting exhausted, I was saying, God, you strengthen me. And the next day, I would have renewed strength. And even sometimes, I actually wrote it in my acknowledgement because I thanked the Holy Spirit too in my acknowledgement. But there are some times when I would not know what to do next, and then I would go to bed, and like early in the morning, I'm having ideas and I'm just typing things out. Like, this man did not reveal this to you. So God has really been helpful in this journey. And one of the things that I very much am particular about is to acknowledge Him. I don't want to be thanking Him in secret, and I don't want to be acting cool. Like, oh, I'm a Christian, but outside I don't have to be making noise. But no, God has really helped me on this journey, and in my faith journey, it's very important to me that I acknowledge the source of my knowledge, the person who has helped me. And so, yes, it has really been a journey with God. And by the grace of God, I'm done with my program. I'm going to be an assistant professor in the next month, and that was also a faith journey. Like, it came with, I was saying I'm graduating this semester and I'm getting a job this semester, and it all happened according to God's plan. So when you trust God, in summary, I talk a lot, but in summary, when you trust God and you're not just saying it, you're showing Him that you trust Him, He will do things for you that you cannot imagine, beyond your imagination, exceedingly abundantly above all that you have asked for. And yes, that is my story.
That is
Yes, thank
congratulations on your professorship.
Thank you. Thank you.
And like you said, this is a perfect example of what Proverbs says. Commit your ways, commit your actions unto the Lord, and He will direct your path. And it takes trust to actually say that I'm not going to live on my logic. I'm not going to live even on what seems like reality. Like this example you painted about taking steps to book a flight when you just got rejected for funding. It takes trusting in God to know that He who did it before is able to do it again.
Yes.
And I think if we come to a place of trust, which is humanly difficult, but coming to a place of trust that is paramount to manifesting and to becoming. I have personally learned so much from this episode. I didn't know how this conversation was going to go, but it's going higher and higher and higher, and I'm grateful that it's all having a full circle. I want to go back to your research. I wanted us to talk about this because I don't know how far time will go, but it's good that we're able to speak on the aspect of it and personal determination. Back to your research about African feminism. What are the differences or variations that you've noted between the Western or European feminism and African? I know particularly we worked on film production.
Yeah.
But in general, what do you notice that is the differences with what feminism is outside and what we have in Africa?
That's a good question. So, I don't have all the differences in mind right now, but before the dissertation, I worked on a paper that looked at how young women in Nigeria perceive feminism. And they kept saying, well, I'm a feminist in the sense where it's not misconstrued. Okay, so what do you mean by misconstrued feminism? And then they said, men hating feminism. So we don't hate men. So if you expect us to hate men, that's not feminism, and that's not something I want. And we had people giving examples like, I want to be married in the future, and I don't want people to think that I hate men because I don't. So it's more of, okay, let's fight the system. The system is the problem, not the men. That was something that I noticed from that data, where they kept saying it's not about the men, it's about, our culture, things that need to change in our culture, things that need to change in our system, and things like that. So I have noticed, the truth is that I have not worked a lot with Western feminism, because I just wanted to focus on African feminism, right? And another reason, so something I learned earlier in my studies, another reason why I don't really do comparative studies with Western and African feminism is that it doesn't allow the African feminist works to stand alone. Lots of what we see is comparison compared to yes. So I wanted to bring
of having our own original.
I wanted to bring our own to the forefront. Like, I'm talking about African feminism, and that's it, right? Yeah, but what I've noticed, another thing I noticed is the idea of gender roles. So in Western feminism, gender roles are, considered to be disempowering in certain instances. But from the discussions I had with the young women, I'm not just talking about my own definition, I'm talking about what people have said in the research. So the women I spoke to described gender roles as empowering. So they were very clear about women have their roles, right? Men have their roles. They can help each other, but there are certain things that men do better. And there are certain things that women do better, and we embrace it. And we consider it to be empowering. So instead of looking at something like taking care of children as disempowering, you are thinking about how you are raising the next generation. You are crafting this mind to do better. You are creating, the people who will build society in the future. So the way they talk about certain things that are considered disempowering as very powerful and strong was really beautiful to see. Like, okay, this is how we see it, and again, it's in relation to the culture. So African feminism is very contextual, it's very culture heavy. So when you see people talk about certain gender roles as empowering, it's because it aligns with their culture, it aligns with what they know. And instead of seeing it as problematic, they see it as a blessing to be able to do certain things like that. So that's one other thing that I observed, and also the contextual nature of it, understanding that it could change from context to context. And so instead of assuming that you want to use the same formula for different areas, you are very aware of the context. You want to first understand the people and what is going on before you bring in those intervention strategies. Yeah, those are some differences that I noticed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my friend. This has been an interesting. I don't know how much we've gone into this, but this is powerful. I want to book you for when you come back.
No problem.
Because I feel like we could speak more and more and more and more.
Yes.
Yeah, but before we go, if there's one thing we want someone who tuned into this particular episode to take out, I know we've spoken about a lot about research, about faith, about personal growth, personal determination. But what is that one light? Like we said at the Lights Feeders podcast, the goal is to see how people's experiences becomes the light that will guide others on their path. What is that one light or that one message you want to leave behind for anyone who joined this particular episode?
I would say trust God. In everything you do, trust God. He has directed your path. Sorry, son, I like to say stories, but I just don't
So continue.
Trust God. So you see, me deciding to study African feminism in a department where nobody has done anything like that. I'm in America, we studied other things. I mean, my department is diverse, they are very open to other things, but nobody had done that. So I didn't have like someone in the department who does that exact work that I would have to work with and all of that. My advisors were very, very great, and they kept looking for outside resources for me, because as much as they were very helpful to me, they also wanted me to have someone who does something similar. And so that fear was there, like, you're entering the job market soon, and is this the time to be choosing advocacy? Like, typically you're supposed to settle in when you become a professor. That's when you decide, okay, now I want to be an advocate. But choosing to do that as a PhD student, and I wasn't really thinking so much about the job market and all of that. I felt like it was something I should be doing. And the funny thing is that, so why I say trust God, when I went on the job market, this job I currently have, they wanted someone who was doing exactly what I am doing. So they wanted that. They were interested in Nollywood, they were interested in African feminism. It was just like a perfect fit. And it got me thinking that there are many times when, again, out of rationality, you are thinking, okay, you know what, let me not do this yet. Even though you feel like God wants you to do something, you're like, maybe He wants me to do it later, not now. But if you trust God, you realize that He will take care of you, right? Even if you're in a desert, He would feed you. So knowing that you're on the right path and trusting God means that it all ends well for you. So one thing I would want you to do is that if you feel like you're on the right path and that God has destined that road for you, don't listen to naysayers, even though it might come as them advising you rationally, right? As long as you trust God, He's going to create that pathway for you and everything will be just fine.
This is powerful. Seriously, the sermon I listened to in church today was particularly on this topic. It's still Proverb 3. This is not a coincidence, right? And personally, as I listen to you, I have so many things I've been contemplating in my mind. And to be realistic is difficult to trust. It's difficult to just leave everything in God's hand. And it doesn't mean you're not going to do your part. If you are trusting God for a job, of course, you're going to submit the applications. Right? But it's difficult to look beyond, particularly for societies where it seems like everything is not going, where everything is working against. But I think it's still possible to trust. Like the Proverbs say, trust Him, commit it to Him, and He'll direct your path. Thank you so much, Dr. Esty. This is a full section. Personally, I've really been blessed. I'm just sitting here, just looking at so many things that I have learned from this episode. I'm very grateful that you're able to take time to be here tonight. Like I said, it's the first time as a guest, but behind I've received so many directions, reviews on how to do better. And those things have actually helped us to do better. Thank you so much for coming up this episode of Life with Us podcast. And I want you, our listener, to have been blessed. And I know if you take time to listen to the end, you must have been blessed as well. And I know that I should take steps to trust, I should take steps to use the advice that has been shared on this episode in the light of making life choices, not just career or academics. I know that God will guide. And if you have been blessed, ensure to share this message, like, subscribe. We've been dormant for a while, but we are back. Share, and we'll continue to grow this life. Like I said, on this second season of the Life with Us podcast, we'll be bringing guests who, by God's grace, have attained heights, and they'll be sharing their stories, their experiences with us. And I've really been blessed by this episode, and we'll have more guests as well. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank
all
you
the best for what is next for you. I know you.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll
Thanks
see
for
you
having
guys again. Any last word?
me. Oh, thank you. I'm just really glad to be here. We've been friends for years, so it's nice to see this happening. So thank you.
Dr. Esther was there when this idea was.
Yes.
I have had that yearning, but it was Dr. Esther and Dr. Duolo.
Mm-hmm.
Because these are specialists. Dr. Duolo is a journalist
Yes.
of many years. So when people like this speak to you, you feel like, okay, then. Yeah, she and many other persons were among those who actually convinced me to actually start this platform. I'm grateful to have her as a guest.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so much. See you again.
Thank
Probably
you.
here or wherever you are, I will dress you. I will have another episode.
See you at the top.
All right, thank you so much. Bye
Thank
for
you.
now.
Bye.